welcome to Nightingale Reviews. I am with a guest today.
I'm Christian, the Curious Quill.
It's our Christmas break. We're in college. We actually have time to read things now. So we decided we're going to read some books together, whether they're our favorite books or least favorite books, and we're going to force each other to read them with each other and then just vlog our reactions. So this is the beginning of the end. Now my nose is running. Okay.
Mine is too, but...
So we decided to start with one of Christian's picks, and her pick is The All-Seeing Eye by Rob Thurman. Is one of your favorite books? Why do you like it so much?
It's under my Goodreads shelf, titled Psychic Wars, where I put all my favorite books with people with psychic powers in it, and this is in the top of the list. It's Rob Thurman's The All-Seeing Eye, which Bailey already said, and I'm repeating because I don't pay attention. It's about this guy named Jackson Lee Eye, and he has the ability to touch objects and to pick up the past of whoever owned it or whoever was like in the vicinity.
And his capacity, his psychic abilities relate to him being able to either touch something and able to get a reading off of it. He can also read people, but that's more of an influx, but an object is more concentrated. And so when he touches an object, he can get something that happened to that object with the person who owned it, or he can get readings of the person in general if they owned it a lot. So he can like read their whole life through it. It just depends. There's a lot of factors.
And he has a traumatic background. So he grew up in a lot of unconventional situations, and as an adult, his past kind of comes back to haunt him, and he's forced to take part in a government experiment of psychics to prove that they're real, and then they want to use those abilities for another purpose, which I don't want to give anything away, so. Rob Thurman's one of my favorite authors. She wrote the Count and Leandro series and a bunch of other things, Chimera. They're I don't think she writes anymore, but it's a fantastic book. It's like the 5th time I've read it, and now I'm forcing Bailey to read it.
Christian's been reading it lightning speed, so I told her she can't go past certain pages because I'm the slowest reader that might be alive. She has read about 3 books in the time frame I'm still trying to get through this one. Our goal was 100 pages, and now our next goal is 200 pages. Really, that's my goal because, like, she's there. I don't read adult books often, so this is a thing. Also, sometimes people categorize it as science fiction, and I wouldn't really call it science fiction. I'd more categorize it as paranormal. I apologize for the dog in the background, so we're just gonna keep powering through because it could go for hours. Okay, so I'm currently on page 164. My impressions as a first-time reader. This guy, he's from Georgia, so he's like a southern guy, and it's very hard to picture him, I feel like, yeah. So he's a redhead, but I feel like he's a deeper redhead. I just feel like there's not that many male redhead characters who are adults that I've read, at least. But again, I'm unfamiliar with many of the adult books out there, so I could be completely wrong, and there'd just be a world of redheads out there that I'm just oblivious to. Yeah, he has a southern draw, and he's got long hair, though, that he can put in a ponytail. I think he could have rocked the man bun. He's like 30 years old. It's also kind of hard to picture him as 30 years old, just because of his mentality. Yeah. He plays the part of the psychic on purpose. He's got like the billowy sleeves, so it's hard for me to picture him for some reason.
It was like a turtleneck.
Like I have, he said it was silky. It's kind of hard for me to picture him just because I haven't really seen anyone like him in my own life, but I kind of use like Shaun White as a basis. Shaun White circa long hair days, not Shaun White circa current days. He's very witty, very biting, which I really love that in a lot of characters. At the same time, as much as I like him, he's still kind of frustrating to me. You know I love the Broken Boys. Most people love the Broken Boys. For some reason, I've never had this, but he's kind of in the middle. He has like these blocks, which makes a lot of sense because of his past, so he doesn't want to get close to people, he doesn't want to make connections, he's like pretends not to like have feelings for people, and he like purposely tells you that. He's like, yeah, I'm not gonna get close, and if I do, I'm gonna pretend I don't. Like, he does this over and over again. To clarify, he is the oldest child of 3, and he's not really in contact with any of his family anymore, so he, like, when he grew up in the carnival, he met a girl named Abby, the amazing Abby. He's like, I'm not gonna get close because then she's gonna be like my replacement sister, and I'm never having a sister again. I can't handle having a sister again. And then
he's like, so much deeper into that.
I swear, like, he says this, I'm paraphrasing it, but
yeah, and I consider her my sister, but I'm never gonna admit it to her, or maybe like even to myself.
Grow up!
Let me do my take, because you just on my book.
I love him! I just want to say, like, some characters I can really see why they don't want to connect with people, and I do see it why, I just don't feel that as
once
much.
Once you read it 5 times and know the whole story.
Yeah, I'm sure, like, as it progresses, it reveals so much more about his history, so you feel more for him. But at this point, I feel for him, but I feel at the same time, just get your act together. You're a person. I get we all have issues, but, like, get help.
was so hard. What drew me to the book was that Rob Thurman is very witty. She does a really good job of like explaining things and like revealing just enough. I like the story because at first it seems like really simplified at the beginning. You're like, oh, it's gonna be another government story where they take someone with powers, and he is that. But people finally have added more to like this plot line than just you get taken, you're at the government, you have to do something.
A lot more
you
depth,
escape.
a lot more twists.
Yeah. She always says he says in a drawl.
Yeah.
And I can never
True.
imagine the southern drawl.
I don't know what he's saying is like.
Yeah.
I can't make promises though, Amazing. I'm what? An outsider deep down?
You're making that sound cheesy. I'm not much better of a letter writer. I
Look at
finished.
the eagle.
The eagle
Oh, that's a
finished.
heron.
Maybe I'll find it
You
again
hear
one day.
him?
It's a blue herring, Dad.
I really like stories with people who possess supernatural abilities or powers. They're just trying to live their life, and maybe the government gets involved. All the merrier.
9 times out of 10. Government is involved.
I'm hoping that he's gonna eventually do that whole stereotypical I'm gonna break down my walls and be real with you for a second. It's Christmas Eve, so the rest of the day I'm just gonna be sitting here trying to read. Otherwise we're just chilling out. Christian and I are gonna go make fudge. We're also gonna open gifts tonight. That's our tradition. I'm sorry if these are like always in the central location, but I don't have many places to film because there's a lot of people in the house and like you can always hear
And
someone.
dogs.
I apologize if this is boring. I know like a lot of people when they vlog they go places. I'm a self-proclaimed hermit, so I live and breathe this room. It's okay. I'm okay. The world's okay. Not really.
So I'm here with an update. I'm very excited to update. I never remember to update. This is monumental. I am now on page 194 of The All-Seeing Eye, and it just got to this part where they're kind of going into the scientific reasoning behind why they need Jackson and why they took him in the first place and how he's supposed to play a part in this whole experiment gone wrong thing. And I just have to say, ouch, science. My brain shut down. Like, anything science is like, not here right now. It wasn't too terribly difficult to understand, I will admit that. It was pretty dumbed down, but at the same time, like,
Science.
you know what I mean? Mental block there, but still hanging on, still getting through it. Pretty much got the gist. Thought it was really funny because I had just mentioned Jackson's constantly talking about how he doesn't want to get close to people and how sometimes he won't admit something to himself. I just got to a part that cemented this. Is there a noise? No, there's not. It's fine. I'm hearing random things. So there's this character, Hector. He is related to this entire experiment, and he says, "You'll stay because we can help your sister and because you want to help him, whether you admit that or not, even to yourself." So I just thought it was really funny because here we are again with the whole, I won't admit it to anyone, I won't even admit it to myself, and I just think it's hilarious how this keeps being brought up between not only the character internally speaking this to himself, but also then other characters externally noting this of him. I think the author really wants me to understand that, and that's fabulous. I just think it's really funny how many times it shows up. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the author constantly mentioning this. For some people, I feel like that could irk them, but I think it's just really the author trying to get her point across of just how stunted Jackson can be in wanting to form relationships with people. Sometimes it's better if the author just really actually shows you rather than just repeating it, but I don't mind it that much. I am just over halfway. Hopefully this won't take me more than the rest of the month to finish, because if not, that's going to be really sad, but that's just my reality.
I got his shoes. Jackson does too. And it's not just because he's a sidekick.
I don't know where this is going. I'm sorry. Okay. Update you later. Bye.
Well, the power just went out. It's fun.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
It's a massive power outage. I guess we're gonna read the rest of the night or sit in fear of the dark. That's what I'm gonna do. It's dark, so very dark. So, I ended up finishing The All-Seeing Eye really early in January, and being the terrible person that I am, I did not update this. I'm just failing at all things booktube and all things life. I ended up giving this a 4.75 out of 5 stars. I thought this was phenomenal. I loved it. I didn't know how much I would like it, but I was really surprised how much it really grew on me and how much the main character is someone that would be the type of character I really wish that I had the ability to write. He's snarky and sassy. I just love how he's able to break out of his shell and make connections with people, even though it's really difficult, but we knew this was the end game. The only reason I took off a 1/4 of a point was because I had guessed who was the culprit behind the demise of Charlie. So the entire time we knew that he was murdered, but we didn't know by who or exactly to what extent they had in his death. And so I had a feeling it was one of the characters. And there's kind of a twist to it, but I had predicted it because Christian had hinted at it, so I had a degree of knowledge behind it, so I kind of made my own assumptions, and they were correct. I think that sometimes authors do this thing where they make characters extra in a specific way. That could be extra nice, extra mean, extra worried, extra meek, extra anything. And I think those are always the people I immediately suspect, because I'm like, why are they constantly this way? I mean, it makes sense that the character is consistent in their attitudes, in their actions, but at the same time, sometimes it feels so obvious and so intense that I'm like, yep, that's the person. Otherwise, the last 40 pages, despite the fact that I saw that coming, there were a lot of things I did not. All of that really made up for who had killed Charlie. First off, I'll start by saying that Hector and Charlie seemed like the sweetest brothers. They just have this connection with each other and this love and this devotion. Even after Charlie had died, Hector still felt so much about him and still really thought, what would Charlie think of my actions right now? Would he approve of them? Am I living up to his expectations? And I think that
they were just so close, and I just really loved that about them, even though Charlie wasn't someone we really got to interact with much. This book also was really dark at points. I didn't think it was going to get that dark, but the main character is forced to go around to these places and see if these horrific events happened there for a specific reason that tied into a different part of the plot that I won't go into for spoilers, but in those places, it went into some like really dark material. For like one, there was like a cannibal. I'm not sure if these were real places in Georgia or anything. I'm not really familiar with that state, or if these things were just fictionalized, but either way, they're really intense and kind of really fascinating despite their horrific nature, and that kind of really drew me in. The last 40 pages had so much happening, so many twists and turns I had not been expecting, which made me really excited. Some came out of left field, and I was like, okay, kind of that's really off base, but at the same time it made me happy and I wanted to go with it. I was just like, we're gonna see it through to the end and we are just going to enjoy it. We're gonna take it as it is, because I did think it was something that was really helpful in the character's life in the end, so I really did appreciate it, even if I was just kind of like, wait, what? Interwoven throughout the entire storyline happening right now, we're constantly seeing flashbacks of our main character's life and about his sister's death, which really kind of led up to him learning that he's psychic. We never really know what happened, and then it kind of slowly unravels throughout the entire novel, and it really all kind of comes to blows at the very end of it, and we see everything that happened, and I'm really kind of sad that I didn't see this coming. Like, the author was seriously leaving clues throughout the entire thing, and I did not put two and two together. At the end I was like, whoa, that was a good twist. I think in the end a lot of people might have problems with this just because how come Jackson didn't know who killed his sister if when he touches other objects he can find out who killed people? So it kind of seemed convenient in a way sometimes, that aspect of his abilities, but at the same time I feel like because of that reality and that little factor in the entire story, people are going to ask how come he never really knew what happened to his sister and he just had assumptions about it. I think that is going to really drive some people nuts.
As I'm editing this video, I realize that a lot of what I'm saying doesn't really make a lot of sense, because despite thinking I explained things in the vlog, I really didn't. So I'm just here trying to clarify some things as I go about the last couple clips so that it's way more understandable for you guys. So I apologize for this interruption, but I just want to say that when I'm referring to people being possibly upset about Jackson not knowing who killed his sister, essentially when we first start the story, I wouldn't consider this a spoiler because it is something that you're first hit with, and it's kind of like how everything begins and what the story's built on. When Jackson was young, he didn't know he was a psychic, and the only way he found out he was a psychic and had these abilities that were latent up until this point was through finding out his sister was murdered. One day he picked up her shoe and then he realized that she was dead. And this was the first time his powers had ever manifested. Very sudden, uncontrollable, and not something he really had any idea of even how to control. He just all of a sudden knew with utmost certainty that his sister was dead, and that's all he could really gather from that experience. That's kind of what I'm referring to here, how he found out he was a psychic by touching his sister's shoe, and the only thing though he could gather by touching the shoe wasn't any specific details about her murder, just that she was murdered.
In my opinion, I think that it made sense, because for one thing, when he picked up his shoe, I don't think he would have been able to see the whole story, because it says as he grew up, he didn't really want to deal with those powers, so he really suppressed them and never took time to really develop them. But once he became like 18 and he realized that he needed to make a substantial living, he decided to really take those powers and grow them and hone them to make himself stronger in it. And so as, of course, he grows up, that power becomes stronger and he gets to take into account more aspects of it than he would have when he first picked up this shoe and it kind of struck him. So I think it makes sense, especially because he hasn't gone back to his home.
Trying to prop this computer up on my book and it's not working. Hey everyone, so I promised Bailey that I'd get these clips filmed so she can finally finish her video, so I'm going to give my thoughts on The All-Seeing Eye by Rob Thurman and why I chose it for this new series where Bailey and I choose books to read together. I came across The All-Seeing Eye way back in my early years of high school. I believe I had read the first book in the Caliandro series called Nightlife, and then I found All Seeing Eye. It was also during my time of venturing into adult literature, since I'd pretty much stuck to YA up to that point in time. I fell in love with the main character Jackson and the depth of the story. As of today, I've never come across a character quite like Jackson. I think it's mostly because I just love his witty banter. Thurman created a fantastic world where supernatural and paranormal events could occur, but they were grounded in reality, or they felt very grounded in reality. So it gave it a sense of the possibility that it could really happen. Additionally, I felt that the plot was complex and interesting. There was a mystery involved, and Thurman made the journey to conclusion action-packed, heartfelt, and it was so memorable to me. I also never saw the ending coming, and it kind of felt like it just hit you in the face, and you're just like, did that really just happen? But the more I reread the book, I felt like the ending was actually fitting. It kind of felt like extremely out of place at first, but when you reread a book, you remember so much more of the story, you see all the little details that you missed the first time. It just felt like it fit. So yes, I reread the book about 3 or 4 times by now. I kind of lost count. And it was actually the first book I ever reread. I loved it so much that Bailey bought it for my birthday, and I reread the copy about at least once every 1 to 2 years. I made a pact with myself one day in high school where I was just like, you have over 3,000 books on your to-read shelf, and you know what? You've never found a book interesting enough to reread over and over again without getting bored. I feel like when there are literally thousands of books that you want to read, don't waste your time rereading something that you've already gone through. And this book completely changed my perspective on that, but it still is the only book that I've reread thus far. I do have a list, I just haven't gotten to them. So I think I've finally changed my tune with rereading, because when you read tons of books each year, you kind of want to go back at some point or read a book that meant something to you. It's also a bit of nostalgic, and you kind of want to test yourself in terms of what you really remember happening. Because I know when I reread The All Seeing Eye the first time, I didn't remember the main villain or what the twist was, and so I was just like, that happened. I wanted Bailey to read the book because I was hoping that she'd enjoy it as much as I did, and she got a video out of it, so bonus for her. So I highly recommend this book. Oh my god, they're so crooked. Is that better? No, not really, but we're gonna go with it.